Hey guys, this is Mr. Grice for Algebra 2, Unit 3, Review B, video number 2. All right, we already did this first side. If you need help, watch the first video. All right, number 7. Graph f of x is greater than negative absolute value x minus 2 plus 8. Woo. Okay, so when we're graphing, the first thing that we need to do is take a look at that symbol. What's the symbol telling you to do? Well, it's greater than, which means it's going to be open, and we're going to need to shade above. Okay, after that, I'm looking at that negative, and that negative is telling me that I need to go down 1 over 1. And the last thing we need is our vertex, and I take the opposite of the negative 2, and then my 8 stays the same. All right, so as we're graphing this, I'm going to 2 positive 8, which is right here, and I go down 1 over 1, and I'm going to skip every other point just so you guys can see my dashed line. Okay, now you don't have to do this. You can just say, oh, okay, I'm going to do everyone. That's fine. I just want to make sure you guys can see my dashed line. Okay, so there we go. I did a lot in each direction, and now I'm going to use my straight edge. Yes, my straight edge to make my dashed line. Okay, and we need to do it in both directions. Now, we said that we had to shade above. Okay, so I have to shade above here and above over here. So above is everything that is yes, above the absolute value. Okay, so I have to go above here, and then I'm also above over here as well. Okay, all right, number 8. First thing I notice, no inequality symbols, so all we have to do is graph. Okay, so our first guy over here, there's no number out front, so that means up 1, over 1, and then my vertex is 4, negative 6. Okay, so at 4, negative 6, here's 4, I'm down at negative 6, I'm going up 1, over 1, up 1, over 1, up 1, over 1. Okay, and remember that we need to do every single point because I do not know where it's going to intersect. Okay, so after I do all that, I'm going to draw my line using my straight edge, and there we go. Okay, so my next line is actually a line. It's not absolute value. Okay, so I look at my slope. My slope is negative 1 over 2, which means I'm going down 1 to the right 2, and then I'm starting at 0, 2. Okay, so at 0, 2 is where I start. Down 1 over 2, down 1 over 2, down 1 over 2. Boom, I found one spot. Okay, but I need to check to see if it's going to hit the next one. So down over 2, boom. So there we go. Okay, it hit 2 times, count them, 2 times. And then I'm going to draw my line using my straight edge. Okay, and then tell me, what are the 2 points that they intersect? Oh, we forgot to do the solution for the next one. Thankfully, we can go back and do that. Okay, well, that's the point, -8, +6, and +8, -2. For number 7, remember, a solution is anything in the shaded area, and that's probably one of my favorite points to pick because it's easy to find on the graph, and that's -5, 5. Okay, number 9. Yeah, it looks like we're going to have to graph 2 inequalities. That's okay, we can do it. So, looking at the first one, the top one, I see that it's going to be closed, and it's less than, so that means below. That -1/3 is telling me that I have to go down 1 over 3, and then my vertex is at -7, 8. Okay, so at -7, +8 is where I start, and I go down 1 over 3, and I'm going to do that in both directions. Okay, I'm not going to shade yet. That's going to be one of the last things that I do. But right now, I'm just using my straight edge to graph. Okay, I want to remind myself that I need to shade below. All right, bottom one. That symbol is telling me that it's open and that I need to shade above. My slope is 1/2 and I started 0, 4. Okay, so just remember we're open at 4. I'm going up 1 over 2, up 1 over 2, up 1 over 2, up 1 over 2. Okay, I'm going to erase some of these in a second just so you guys can see my dashed line. Okay, and here we go. And for this guy, I wanted to shade above. Now, to figure out the section that we shade, we talked about labeling everything. So 1, 2, 3, and 4. So if I need to be below the red line, well, 1 and 2 are not below, so I can get rid of them. I need to be above the blue line. Well, 3 is not above, it's below. So that leaves our final answer as number 4. Okay, and then you just come in and you shade. Now, sample solution, a point in the shaded area. Well, what do you know? That same point, -5, 5, is right there. So that's what I'm going to use. Okay, and remember, it can be any point in this shaded area. It doesn't have to be the same one. Okay. Now, for number 10 and number 11, I gave a good example on how to solve these in review A. So if you're kind of stuck with what I'm doing here, go back and watch it. But the key thing is we got to get the absolute value by itself. So I'm going to subtract the 10. We have 4x minus 8 equaling a positive 8. It equals a positive number, which tells me there are going to be 2 solutions. Okay, so I break this up to 4x minus 8, 4x minus 8. One time it equals a negative, and the other time it equals a positive. And then you just go through and solve, and I'm going to pause this video and you guys are going to solve it on your own. That means you have to pause it too. Okay? Good luck. Okay, so adding 8 to both sides. Now remember, when you are adding 8 to both sides, negative 8 plus 8 is 0. I know they cancel out, but you still have to put a 0 there. Okay, and when you divide 0 by 4, you get 0. On the other side, you end up with x equaling 4, and then I just put my two answers in order from least to greatest. All right, let's get that absolute value by itself. So the first thing we do is subtract 6 to both sides. I have negative 2 times the absolute value of x minus 4 equals 14. The absolute value is not by itself yet, so I need to divide both sides by negative 2. And when we do that, we get the absolute value of x minus 4 equals 14 divided by negative 2 is a negative 7. And I'm sorry, but the absolute value cannot equal a negative number. So this is no solution. And you can just come over here and use your symbol. All right, last two. Solving and graphing absolute value inequalities. Same thing as what we talked about in review A. I need to get the absolute value by itself first. So to do that, I'm going to subtract 4 to both sides. I have negative 6 times 2x minus 10 is less than or equal to negative 24. Remember, you just can't say, oh, it's a negative, it's no solution. We have to get the absolute value by itself. Because when we do that and we divide by a negative, right here we have to flip the sign. I get the absolute value of 2x minus 10 is greater than 4. Okay? And this symbol means greater. All right? So greater means I'm splitting it up into 2. I put the or in the middle. And then I have 2x minus 10 less than or equal to negative 4, or 2x minus 10 greater or equal to 4. And then I have to go through and solve each one. Okay? So I'm going to add 10. And remember, you can do both of these at the same time. As long as you remember, you're going to get different answers. Negative 4 plus 10 is 6. 4 plus 10 is 14. And then we need to divide by 2. We get x is less than or equal to 3, or x is greater than or equal to 7. Okay? There we go. There's my answer. Now I have to graph it. Okay? So as I'm graphing it, I'm going to put 0 here. There's 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, so on and so forth. So at 3, we're closed, and I'm going to shade to the left. At 7, we're closed, and I'm going to shade to the right. Okay, so interval notation, our graph starts at negative infinity to 3. There's a break, and then we pick up at 7, and it goes to positive infinity. Last one, 13. Is the absolute value by itself? Nope. So we have to add 9 to both sides. I get the absolute value of 5 minus 10x is less than 25. So it's less than, okay? So that means we put the negative 25. I use the same symbol, the absolute value, and then 25. Okay, the key thing is that absolute value stays the same. The inequality, I used the same inequality both times. Okay, it was just the positive 25 and negative 25. Okay, and then we solve. Subtract the 5 to all three sides. You get negative 30 is less than negative 10x, which is less than 20. I divide by negative 10, and before I write my answers, I just divided by a negative, so I have to flip. Negative 30 divided by negative 10 is positive 3. 20 divided by negative 10 is negative 2. And then I know we're not done yet. Okay, we have to rewrite. Okay, we want the negative 2 first, and then the 3. All right, and then we graph. Okay, so negative 4, negative 3, negative 2, no, not 0, Mr. Grice, negative 1, 0, 1, 2, 3, and 4. At negative 2, I'm open. At 3, I'm open. The X is in the middle. I shade the middle. Writing this in interval notation, our graph starts at negative 2 and it stops at 3. I'm open for both of those, so that's why I'm using parentheses. All right, and that is all she wrote for Algebra 2, Unit 3, Review B. Your test is next. Hopefully you're ready. If not, please come see Ms. Carranza or myself. We would love to help you out. This is Mr. Grice signing off. Thanks for watching.